goals galore over the weekend as we saw 33 goals flying from the left, right and center. Fun fact, none of the 26 most owned FPL defenders kept a clean sheet, and one of those teams is West Ham United, a team that we'll be throwing more light on because we think their future looks bright. We are back after this. Welcome back, and we are currently at the Torches Bar in the Kanishi Sports Complex. This is still the Joy Fantasy Football Show, and before I introduce my guest, I have a little bit of a trivia for you, and the question for today is, which Premier League defender has provided the most assists this season? And a clue that I can give you is that, the defender attacks a lot. So whilst you are cracking your brains, I would introduce my guest, and on my immediate left is Enoch. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, bro.
How was your fantasy week?
It was terrible.
Terrible. You tell me a little bit about that. But
sure.
Adam, how are you doing?
Wait, I'm good. Yourself?
I'm doing fantastic.
Wonderful.
I also come to you to tell me about how your fantasy, team went this week. Now you said your game week was terrible. Do you want to tell us why?
Yeah, so I dropped that one man who always give us points, who always give you the assist, and that was Aguero. And I was thinking I wanted to try something different. This time around, I brought in different players, and then it didn't work out. I was actually hoping that Vardy would do something different because of the death of their chairman, but then it didn't work out for me. So terrible week, 44 points, totally below average.
Unfortunately, your risk didn't pay off, but someone's risk did pay off, and that's you. And you brought in Arnautovic.
Yeah, I brought in Arnautovic, and I had Jimenez. And then I stuck with Aguero as well, who was my captain. So my front line actually delivered for me.
Your front line almost caught up with, Enoch's total points, but that's just by the way. Let's start our show with the recap segment, and we start with the price rise. And the first player on the list is Brighton's goalkeeper, and Ryan. He has seen a price rise.
Yeah, obviously, with Ryan, you are guaranteed a lot of saves. And then the saves gives him the points because he's just kept only one clean sheet. But then he has 47 saves, and that explains his price rise. Yeah.
And a player who prevents a lot of goalkeepers from getting clean sheets, especially in the previous 4 game weeks, is Anthony Martial, and it's pretty understandable why he has seen a price rise.
Indeed, it definitely is. Anthony Martial has scored again in the 4th consecutive game week, so that's really good for him. And you've seen managers going in for him, so that explains his price rise.
Well, up next is a player who seems to, really relish the opportunity to play at home, and that's Kun Aguero. And yet again, he did shine at home against Southampton, and that has seen him, his price rise again.
So all the managers who had Aguero moved up in their leagues, in their mini leagues, and that was my downfall actually. Aguero has 7 goals, 4 assists. That in 11 matches, that means in every game he's actually going to give you a goal or an assist. Keeping him gives you a lot of points. You are actually guaranteed those points. For his price rise, I'm sure he's going to move up week in, week out.
Okay, and we have to now look at the price fall, and up next is Leicester, their playmaker, that's Maddison, who started the season pretty well, but things haven't been so good for him recently.
Yeah, unfortunately, things haven't been too good for Maddison. He's also not really performed well in the past few game weeks, 4 game weeks actually, where he hasn't returned any attacking points. So that explains his price fall. Okay,
and another player who also hasn't had the best of season so far, but he is pretty expensive, and you can understand why fantasy Premier League managers are getting rid of him, is Roberto Firmino.
Yeah, that's true, and it's quite sad that all the front 3 of Liverpool are not pulling their weight, and it's really affecting Firmino. You can't get 2 goals and 2 assists in 11 game weeks and still hope that FPL managers keep you when your price is around 9.0. So it's because he's not scoring, and relatively his colleagues, strikers are also doing the job. So you'll be replaced, and he's being replaced, and that explains his price.
Another striker who seems to have forgotten where the back of the net is Alexander Mitrovic of Fulham. And it is a little bit harsh, but you can see that clearly the whole Fulham team is out of ideas.
Yeah, Fulham is actually out of sorts now. It started out in defense, and now the rot has gone to the attack as well. Mitrovic hasn't provided any attacking returns in 2 game weeks, and he just seems to be off color. And unfortunately, managers are parting ways with him. So that experience is prize for.
Yeah, and that would be it for our recap segment where we did look at our prize rise and prize fall. But we have to move on to the team talk, and that would be our hot topic for today. And I spoke about West Ham United and how, when you look at their fixture list, it looks pretty good for them. You know, they seem to have a fixture difficulty rating of 2, bar than Manchester City fixture. But let's take a look at these fixtures that they have to play, and we start with Huddersfield away.
For Huddersfield, I think West Ham are going to pick up the 3 points. Huddersfield have conceded 21 goals so far in 11 matches. That means they average 1.9 goals every match. That's close to 2 goals in every game.
Yeah.
And if you have a proven and a potent striker like Arnautovic in there, and if you have a team who are gaining a lot of confidence, Pellegrini seems to be finding his feet after a poor start to the season, then this match is an easy win for West Ham.
An easy win, and one that wouldn't be easy for West Ham is a home fixture against Manchester City.
Yeah, so it goes without saying that West Ham's fixture with City is actually going to be the most difficult fixture they faced this season. So yes, unfortunately for them, their home record isn't too good either. They currently have only 2 wins, 1 draw, and 3 losses at home. With those 2 wins coming against Manchester United and Burnley, and of course they were able to hold Chelsea to a draw at home as well. I mean, I know you can expect them to put up a good fight at home because it's their home ground, but City are definitely a class above them, and I see City walking away with the points.
And up next would be Newcastle. It would relatively be easier than Man City, wouldn't it?
It would, comparatively, but then the sad thing, or the thing you have to look at here, is that the coach of Newcastle, he's very good. He's also very experienced. And then coming into this game, he might think, okay, so this is the time we can also pick up and gain some momentum. But that we can't go by saying that then Newcastle have already picked pace. They've already picked momentum. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I would tip West Ham to actually go through on this one. But not on footballing terms, but just for the fact that they've gained momentum and then Newcastle can't stand it.
Okay, and after that would be a fixture at home to Cardiff. Is there a fixture that you see them easily winning?
So assuming West Ham United are able to emerge from their match against City without too much damage and can give a good result or get a good result at Newcastle, I honestly think this match is going to be easy pickings for them. Currently, Cardiff have scored only 2 goals and conceded 11 on their travels, losing 4 and drawing 1 in the process. So I believe West Ham should be able to capitalize on that and maybe get a goal or 2 in that match.
After that would be another home fixture against Crystal Palace.
The only advantage West Ham are having here is the fact that they are playing at home. The fact that they are playing at home in their London stadium, and the fact that they've gained a lot of momentum as time progresses and as they play. It looks like they are now gelling. If not for that, this game is going to be a very tricky game. It's a London derby actually. But I'll pick West Ham once again for them to take all the points from Crystal Palace, because it doesn't look as if Crystal Palace can stand the likes of Felipe Anderson and Arnautovic.
And the last fixture on the list would be an away trip to Craven Cottage against Fulham.
Yeah, so that fixture is actually going to be very interesting. I mean, if by then Fulham have still not sorted out their defense and are still conceding goals at the high rates which they are now, it's going to be a bloody game for them. West Ham, I see them taking all 3 points by the end of this game.
So we have looked at some fixtures for West Ham, especially the next 6 game weeks, and it does look like they would be picking up a lot of points. But then for fantasy managers, all that really concerns them is what players can really have the most points from these games, and that is what we'll be looking at next. We would be doing our premium picks, and to start that off would be Arnautovic. He seems to be the main man at West Ham right now.
He is the main man at West Ham right now. He is the man that we can all bank our hopes on throughout these game weeks, throughout the upcoming game weeks. But the only thing is that in the City game, in their game against City, you have to take into consideration that City they've only conceded just 2 goals. Just 2 goals.
Yeah.
And they have a very good defensive pair in Laporte and Stones. So when you keep Arnautovic against City, then you are not going to, you are just going to get some 2 points. But then looking at the likes of Huddersfield, who have considered 21 goals, coming to Newcastle, where the momentum of West Ham are going to carry them through. You can look at Crystal Palace, Fulham, Cardiff. These are games that Arnautovic is going to give you, and he's going to show that he can actually battle with the big boys. He now has 5 goals, 1 assist, and he's going to add more considering the matches they have. You can keep Arnautovic, but make sure you bench him against City.
Well, you said they should bench Arnautovic. It would be pretty sad if Arnautovic did come up with a masterclass against against Manchester City, which I think is very, very possible. But let's move on to Felipe Anderson. And we all knew he had talent in Lazio, but he took time to settle in the Premier League. And now he has finally settled. And what a gem he has been so far.
Yes, he actually seems to be a very good, shiny gem at the moment for West Ham United. He's proven to be a very valuable addition to the team since he came on. And at the moment, he is leading West Ham's midfielders chart with 43 points. And he's only second to Arnautovic on the overall West Ham points chart. He's proving how valuable he is to their attacking prospects. And he seems to be the most reliable outlet for points, apart from Arnautovic in the team. For a 6.8 million midfielder, his underlying stats are very decent. He's made 11 appearances, scoring 3 and assisting 1 in the process, with all 3 goals coming from inside the box. He scored from 2 big chances created and has created a pair himself, with 8 of his 14 shots on target. All these stats lend credence to the fact that Felipe Anderson is a premium pick if you're looking for any West Ham players to get into your team.
A pretty detailed analysis on why you should get Felipe Anderson. But last on the premium picks is Fabianski, who I think his success would depend a lot on the type of opponents that he's playing, because you do realize that he does also get a lot of save points, because West Ham themselves don't tend to keep a lot of clean sheets, and we clearly saw that against Burnley, where although they won comfortably, they still ended up conceding 2 goals.
Yeah, that's actually true, because when you look at the record of Fabianski, he has just 1 clean sheet. When you look at the clean sheet, you are going to say, no, this is not the keeper to go for. But then again, he's next to Ryan with saves. He has 43 saves, actually. The saves gets you a lot of points. And then looking at the fixtures, with the exception of City, I think they are going to keep about 4 clean sheets out of the 8. And then keeping Fabianski, you get the clean sheets, you get the saves. He's going to build up, and you need him.
Against City, do you think he would manage a lot of save points against?
He's going to manage a lot of save points, but then he's going to concede at least 3.
At least 3 goals. And now we have to move on to the wild card picks, and starting off that would be Chicharito, and he has benefited from the injury to Yarmolenko, and he seems to be getting a little bit of a stint in the team now. He scored last game week. Is this something that he can build on?
So for a West Ham United wildcard pick, I don't think it gets any better than Chicharito. Unfortunately for him, because of injuries and bad form, he hasn't really been featured in the West Ham team. His numbers aren't too good either. He's made only 7 appearances, with 2 of them starts, and has a single goal and assist to his name so far. He has 3 shots on target from 7, scoring 1 big chance and creating 1. The good thing about Chica is that he's Pellegrini's immediate replacement in terms of attacking prospects for West Ham United in case Arnautovic goes off injured. So that's the good thing. But that even is not too safe for him, because rumors have it that Andy Carroll is coming back from injury, and he should also be a feature in their team.
Yeah, but definitely Chicharito would grab a goal if he does get his chance. And another player who seems to have all of a sudden come into the thick of affairs is Diangana, and he's a very, very skillful lad. He was denied a clear penalty last game week, but he still ended up with an assist. Do you see him in the long run in West Ham's plans?
Yeah, I see him in the long run in West Ham plans. And then again, that is, we are looking at their fixtures coming up. Looking at the fixtures, you need someone that can actually hold on the ball. Pellegrini would not like to depend on Felipe Anderson so much. He will need someone to take the pressure off him, and Diangana is the one going to do that. He's very good with the ball. He's very comfortable in possession. he can play in tight spaces. Although he has just one assist, that's because he's now coming into the limelight. He's a very good player, a very good wild card. You can keep him in there. When you want to use your bench boost chip, and then Diangana is on your bench, you are short of an assist. So yeah, he's
okay. And last on our wildcard list for West Ham would be Balbuena. He's called General, and he came up from the Argentine side, Independiente, and he seems to be a very, very good, solid player who got a goal against Leicester, and defensively he has done well. But I think you look at these fixtures, and West Ham should be getting some clean sheets.
Oh yeah, definitely. West Ham should be able to secure a few clean sheets from these fixtures. Balbuena has been a good addition to the West Ham team, and currently at 4.4 million and with 0.8% ownership, he seems like a very good wildcard option as well. So despite their defensive frailties as a unit, Balbuena's underlying stats are quite decent. So he started all 11 games this season. He's made 28 interceptions, 84 clearances, winning 11 out of 18 tackles, as well as 35 aerial battles. He hasn't conceded any penalties or made any errors leading to goals, and he has an odd goal to his name even. So I think he's a very decent wildcard pick.
So definitely Balbuena is a good wildcard pick in terms you want to stand out in your own mini leagues. A reminder that we're coming from the Torches Bar in the Kaneshi Sports Complex, and you are watching the Joy Fantasy Football Show. And I spoke of climbing up in your mini leagues, and you cannot do that by having the likes of Aguero, Salah, Mane. Guess why? Because everybody seems to have those players. So you need to stand out. You need some difference. And speaking of difference, we have to talk about differentials. And Alvaro Morata, all of a sudden, he seems to be coming up with a point. It's a brace over the last game week. And do you think that he's picking up some form that it needs to, start picking up from the Fantasy Premier League managers?
Yeah, I think managers will have to take a cue from what is happening at Chelsea right now. From his previous interview, he mentioned that last season he was under a lot of stress, and Conte's system didn't really help him that much. But Sarri's system, the Sarri boy, is helping him. He now has 4 goals in 5 matches, and then it looks as if he's coming to go on a streak. So with their game against Everton, Morata is going to give you a goal and assist. With Morata, what happens is that he's very good when it comes to positioning. And when you have players like Barkley, Hazard, Jorginho behind you, giving you all the nice and clever through passes, you are likely to get a goal. He's going to get a goal. And very good differential pick. You can't afford not to have him.
Okay, so we move on to Shaqiri, and he wasn't picked in the Champions League squad. So we expect him to be all fresh during the weekend and hopefully get a start.
Yeah. So, I mean, I personally think Shaqiri is a great differential pick for this particular game week. At 7 million and only 2.3% ownership, he seems very good. And as you already mentioned, he didn't feature in the midweek Champions League clash that Liverpool had. And I think based on the statistics as well, I'd very much go for him if I had the opportunity to. He hasn't started, he's only started 2 matches and had 5 substitute appearances for Liverpool so far. And he scored 1 and provided 4 assists in the process. His 4 assists are actually on par with Salah's at the moment, and no other Liverpool teammate has more. He could be a great pairing with either Salah or Mane if you don't already have both.
Okay, a great pairing. And we have seen Ben Chilwell, come into the Premier League over the past previous seasons. But this season, for instance, we see that he seems to be attacking a lot more, and it has benefited in terms of the assists that he has provided. And at 1.4% of the ownership, you can be assured of some differential. He gave an assist last week, and he doesn't seem like he's going to stop soon.
With their game against Burnley, but then you have to look at Chilwell, the price. Comparatively, he's very cheap. For 5 million, he's a very, very good differential, very, very good on the offensive. He has made 23 crosses into the box. The sad thing is that Vardy doesn't get to the end of these crosses. And then their game against Burnley, it looks like Vardy is going to get the end of these crosses. Keeping or having Chilwell in your team means that you have a player who is likely to give you clean sheets and also assists. Moving forward, he's very good. He's very good in attacking. He does the extraordinary. He plays the ball well, he's good with his feet, he can dribble, he can give the true passes. When you have such a defender, then 11 points at least.
That concludes the chapter on the differential picks. And up next, a very, very important segment where, you know, FPL managers get a chance to double their points. And we look at the captain picks for this week. And I will be starting with you, Enoch. And Burnley, they come to the King Power Stadium, and Vardy seems to be the man to go for in such a tricky fixture. You know, there's been the funeral of Vishai. You know, we saw a lot of fighting spirit in the Leicester players against Cardiff last week. Do you think that they would build on that against Burnley and probably capitalize and win this game comfortably?
I think for once in this season, Vardy is going to surprise everyone. Vardy promised to give us a go against Cardiff. It didn't happen. They went for the funeral. They've come back. I think coming back, he has to prove something to the fans that no, this man gave us a lot, so we need to repay him. So their game against Burnley is going to be a massacre for me. I'm not going to look at his statistics that he squandered 7 big chances. I'm not going to look at the fact that he has only just 3 goals. I'm just going to look at the fact that Vardy has a point to prove, and he's going to prove
but
it.
But also because Burnley have been very poor defensively this season.
Obviously, consider 4 goals against West Ham. It doesn't look as if they are the Burnley who nearly made it to Europe last season. Yeah. So Vardy is going to do a lot.
Okay, so we have spoken about West Ham, and it would be pretty awkward if a West Ham player wasn't our captain pick this week. And of course, the man Arnautovic, he's in the captain picks, and he plays Huddersfield, and definitely he has to, you know, provide FPL managers by repaying their trust in him.
Yeah, actually, he definitely has to. And as I mentioned earlier, Arnautovic is your go-to guy in this West Ham team at the moment. He clearly seems to be hitting a good patch of form. And, I mean, we all saw his impressive 12-point haul against Burnley, which came as a result of a goal, an assist, and all 3 bonus points. So he's currently tied at 5th with Jimenez on their forward ranking list with 50 points, thanks to 5 goals, 2 assists, and 9 bonus points in total. And his partnership with the hard-working Anderson, as we already mentioned, could be the winning formula for West Ham against Huddersfield.
Okay, winning formula. And someone that we kind of seem to, you know, break down what exactly he is Mohamed Salah. And it seems as if he's more or less like a two-sided coin, where on another week you can see a performance as what we saw against Cardiff, where, you know, he scored the goals and provided all the assists and ended up with a lot of points. Now on the other side of the coin, you can see his game against Arsenal, where he was completely lost. Which type of Mo Salah do you think will turn up against Fulham, and would it be a right captain pick?
It would be the perfect captain pick. We are going to see the Mo Salah that turned up against Cardiff. That's because we are going to look at the stats of Fulham. Fulham have conceded 29 goals, and that means they average 2 goals every game. 2 goals every game. If you average 2 goals every game, they don't seem to have confidence.
Yeah.
Salah is coming back from Salah just has 5 goals and 3 assists, and now the person leading the goal charts is having just 7 goals. This is the opportunity for Salah to prove that he is not a one-season wonder, and he's going to prove it against Fulham. That said, when you have Salah in your team and you don't captain him, what is going to happen is that you are going to drop in your mini leagues, because everyone is going to go for Salah this game. Fulham is awful. Salah is going to benefit.
But another option, I think, hand in hand, when you compare Salah and Hazard, if you're not captaining Salah, you would be captaining Hazard, and he plays Everton, a team that he has a very good personal record against.
Yeah. So we all know Hazard's pedigree, and we all saw him come from the bench over the weekend to provide an assist against Crystal Palace, and he also seems to be fully recovered from his back injury as well. He currently has 7 goals, 4 assists, and 13 bonus points from 10 appearances. So Hazard currently leads the midfielder charts with 79 total points, and he averages 7.9 points per match as well. He scored 5 of Chelsea's 15 home goals. So, I mean, it's definitely a recipe for success if Hazard is able to start against Everton. Yes.
Well, he seems to have gotten enough rest, and if he does start indeed, he would have a very good influence. And lastly, we conclude with Lacazette, and he plays at home against Wolves, and Arsenal should be winning this.
Arsenal should be winning this. The sad thing is that they are not going to win with a very huge margin. Wolves are going to keep it tight for them, like they did against Manchester City. But the good thing is that this is a man who is benefiting from a system. The system is actually working, and Unai is not ready to give up. You could see when they played against Liverpool, how they fought to the end, and then the goal actually came from Lacazette. That was a brilliant goal by all standard. He's going to keep the momentum. He's going to give you a goal. He's going to give you either an assist too, but then it won't be a lot of goals. You can captain him if you don't have the Salahs or the Hazards.
Well, you can't captain him if you don't have the Hazard and the Salahs. He could be a good differential pick. And it was very amazing to have you guys here. It's always fun to have you. So finally, who would be your captain?
My captain picks Salah.
Salah.
I'm actually going to triple captain Salah.
Triple captain Salah. Hopefully, we finally see you use that chip. And
yeah, definitely Salah for me.
Salah for you too. And yeah, I'm a little bit undecided, but I don't think it will be Mohamed Salah. That I am sure of. So at the beginning of the show, I did give you a little bit of a trivia, and I asked you which defender has recorded the most assists so far this season. Now it's time for the answer, and yeah, you guessed it. Benjamin Mendy. Well, I hope you did guess it, but congratulations to you if you did. If you didn't, next week presents another chance. Now, we move on to the Joy Sports Classic League, and that's our fantasy league, and we have a new leader. That's Nana Kojo, and a big congratulations to you to keep it up. But, you know, with this league, the leader never stays on 1 week, 2 weeks. We will change you, and someone, maybe next time it may be Enam or Enoch. But it was good to have you. Remember, we came from the Torches Bar in the Kaneshi Sports Complex. We hope you had fun. See you same time next week. All the best in the upcoming game week. And remember, Fike Lindo, which basically means stay beautiful.